keeper of forgotten sparks. Caractère 1. Mark, 40 years old, a master in the restoration of antique watches. A punctual, cold man who lives in the rhythm of a metronome. His life is an endless to-do list in which there is no place for stupidity. 2. Marek, 7-year-old, little Mark, a boy who dreamed of drawing clouds, but who was told to be serious like his father. 3. Mistress Kronos, old mentor, keeper of the Museum of Unlived Days. She looks like an elderly woman in a dress of iridescent mist. 4. Shadow of Severity, a huge, heavy figure that resembles a granite statue. It is the embodiment of the voice of his father and teachers, who demanded only results. Part 1. Failure in the mechanism. Mark worked in his workshop. The ticking of hundreds of hours created a wall of sound that protected him from silence. The silence was dangerous thoughts awoke in it. That evening he received a strange order, an old alarm clock in the shape of a house. When Mark opened the case, instead of gears, they spilled out of there. Dried apple tree, petals, and a piece of paper with a child's drawing. The drawing depicted a bright red kite. At the same moment, the time in the workshop stopped. The pendulums froze. Mark felt the floor under his feet turn to soft grass, and the walls of the workshop dissolve in the twilight of the endless garden. Immersion. Pause. Imagine that your familiar surroundings are beginning to disappear. What color is twilight in your inner world? Do you feel cool or warm? Part 2. Museum of Unlived Days. Mark walked through the garden until he saw a building that looked like a huge library, but without a roof. But instead there was a starry sky. Lady Kronos was waiting for him at the entrance. "Have you come for your serpent, Mark?" she asked without turning around. "I've come to fix my watch," he replied dryly, though his heart was pounding in his throat. "They don't fix mechanisms here. Here they repair what is behind them. You've been building fences out of seconds for 30 years to avoid seeing that boy waiting for you in the basement of your own heart." She led him into a hall called the section of the unfulfilled. There were not books on the shelves, but frozen moments. In one, Mark saw himself getting an A, but with sad eyes. In another, he throws his brushes into the garbage can because an artist is not a profession. He's there. Kronos pointed to the heavy iron door at the end of the hall, locked with a lock that you, yourself, forged from the words must, and then. Part 3. Meeting in the grey classroom. Mark opened the door and found himself in an old school classroom. It was cold. In the corner, at the last desk, smrek in a blank sheet of paper and a broken pencil. The boy did not cry. His face was frighteningly calm. It was the face of a child who had given up. "Hello," Mark said quietly. Marek looked up. There was no joy in them, only fatigue. "Did you come to tell me I'm late again? That I drew the line unevenly?" "No." Mark squatted, his expensive suit stained with chalk dust. "I've come just to be with you." Marek grinned bitterly. "You can't be here. You need to work. If you sit with me, we won't get anywhere. We will become nobody." That's what Dad said. At that moment, the walls of the classroom shrank. The shadow of severity appeared. It filled the entire space, pressing down with its weight. "Mark," the shadow thundered. "Get back to work. Emotions are weakness. Idleness is death." You're wasting precious time on ghosts. Reflection pause. Do you hear that voice in your head when you're just trying to relax or take care of yourself? What does it sound like? What color is it? Part 4. The battle for the right to joy. Mark felt his usual fear, the same fear that made him work 14 hours a day. But then he looked at Marek, the boy huddled into a ball, covering his head with his hands. And then something changed inside Mark. The cold master disappeared. The defender woke up. Enough, Mark Shadows shouted. You don't have the right to vote, Shadow growled. You are me. No. Mark stood up, to his full height, shielding the child with his body. I am the one who survived despite your cold. I am grateful to you for helping me build my career and not be lost. But now, your shift is over. You're no longer the commander in this house. You're just an echo of old fears. Mark walked over to the Fade and hugged her. That was the hardest thing to do, to embrace his severity. Under his hands, the granite began to turn into sand. The shadow crumbled, leaving only a light breeze in its wake. Mark turned to the boy. Marek, I know what you've been needing all this time. These are not toys, and not even the approval of his father. Part 5. The Gift. In what? The child asked in a whisper. Mark held out his hand. It was not a tool or a watch, but the golden resolution. You needed permission to be imperfect. You needed to know that I love you, even when you're wrong. When you just look out the window. When you draw crooked horses. Mark took out of his pocket the same red kite from his dream. Let's go. Today we do not need to achieve anything. We are going to launch the kite. They walked out of the grey classroom into a sunlit meadow. Marek ran through the grass uncertainly at first, and then faster and faster. He laughed loudly, sincerely, choking with delight. The serpent soared into the sky, dancing among the clouds. The boy turned and ran up to Mark, hugging him tightly by the knees. Are you really going to stay? I'll always be there for you now, Mark replied, feeling his own heart, which had worked like a machine for years, begin to beat in a lively, uneven, hot rhythm. There's always an hour for you on my schedule now. Epilogue. Mark woke up in the workshop. The clock was ticking again, but the light of the lamp seemed warmer. He picked up the phone and cancelled an evening appointment with an important client. Then he took out of his desk drawer a set of watercolors that he had bought a long time ago and had never opened. On a blank sheet of paper, among the drawings of the gears, the first spot of bright blue paint appeared. It was the sky. Mark smiled. He finally fixed the most important clock, the one that counts down the moments of happiness. Next step. This story ends where yours begins. To consolidate the effect of this narrative, I suggest taking one small step. Let's imagine if you could give your inner child one artifact or gift. It could be a thing, a feeling, or a phrase right now. What would it be? We continue the story of Mark and Marek. If the previous part was about meeting, then this part is about integration, about how to teach the inner child and the adult to live in the same world without displacing each other. Part 6. Workshop for 2. Several weeks had passed since that night in the workshop. Outwardly, Mark's life remained the same, but inside everything changed. Now, when he sat down to work, He felt not the heavy pressure of duty, but someone's invisible presence nearby. Once, while working on the most complex mechanism of a Swiss watch of the 19th century, Mark felt irritated. The part did not fall into place. The fingers did not obey. Too shallow, too boring, a thin voice rang out in his mind. Marquefrose. He closed his eyes and mentally transported himself to his inner space. There, among the huge gears of his mind, sat Merrick. He tried to build from spare springs and screws. Lock. Do you feel uncomfortable here? Mark asked. Everything is grey here, the boy answered, and it smells only of old oil. And where are the clouds? Where is the red serpent? You promised that we would be together, but you locked yourself in your watch again. Mark realized his mistake. He saved the child from the closet, but brought him to the office. He realized that giving the child what he needed was not a one-time event, but a daily choice. Help me, Mark said. Look at this mechanism with your own eyes. What does it look like? Merrick came closer, looked through the eyepiece of the microscope, and whispered, It's not just a watch. This is the frozen dance of the stars. If we add a drop of blue paint here, they will show the time before the fairy tale starts. Pause for reflection. Look at your most routine work. If your inner child could add one element of play or color to it, what would it be? Part 7. Trial by the Past. The next day, Mr. Sterling, Mark's richest and coldest client, came to the workshop. He demanded that his gold chronometer be ready a week ahead of schedule. Time is money, Mark, Sterling said. I don't need excuses. I need a result. You are a professional. At un moment, Mark felt the shadow very tremble within him. She hadn't disappeared completely. She was hiding in corners, ready to take control again. Agree, she whispered. Drive the boy away. Lock himself up at night. Don't sleep. Don't eat. But do it. You have to be the best. Little Marek, inside Mark shrunk. He recognized the tone. It was the tone of people for whom a person is just a part of a mechanism. Mark took a deep breath. He felt Marek's hand in his hand. That connection gave him something he hadn't had before, the courage to be honest. Mr. Sterling, Mark said calmly, I value your time, but I also value the quality of my life. The work will be ready within the deadline that we initially agreed. Earlier means worse. I don't work at night anymore. Sterling paused, amazed. No one had ever said no to him so calmly and firmly. Grumbling in displeasure, back. Because now Mark had something in his work that money could not buy, a soul. Part 8. Garden of Living Memories. In the evening, Mark met Lady Kronos again. But now, they were not in the museum, but in a huge garden that grew directly from his studio. You've learned how to protect it in the real world, she said approvingly. This is the most difficult stage. Now look at what's happening to your past. She pointed to an iron door that used to have a grey classroom behind it. Now there was no door. In its place there was a wrought iron gate twined with roses. Mark went inside. It was no longer cold. His parents were sitting there, as they had been in those rare moments when they were happy. Trauma had not disappeared from history, but it had ceased to be the center of history. It had become just a backdrop against which new colors shone brighter. Marek ran around the garden, and now he was not alone. There were other children, friends from his fantasies, his unfulfilled dreams, who were now beginning to take on flesh. What does he need now? Kronos asked. In the certificate, Mark replied. He needs someone to see his joy. Mark sat down on the grass, picked up a sketchbook, and began to draw. He did not draw the drawing, but Marika. Each stroke told the child, I see you. You're important. Your feelings are the most precious thing I have. Movement 9, Symphony of Time. A year has passed. Mark's workshop has become a legendary place. People came there not just to fix their watches, but to feel the strange calm that reigned there. In the corner of the workshop, there was now a small table with paints and plasticine, a place for Merrick. Mark learned to pause. Every 2 hours, he put down the tools, took the boy by the hand mentally, or through creativity, and they went on vacation for 5 minutes. They looked at the birds outside the window or drank cocoa. In the final scene, Mark stands in front of a huge city clock in the square, which has not worked for 40 years. He was invited to launch them. The whole square froze. Mark went inside the tower. It was dark and dusty there. The old shadow of harshness tried to whisper, what if it doesn't work out? Everyone will laugh. But Marek laughed first. He jumped on a huge gear and shouted, look, it's a giant merry-go-round. Let's just push it together. Mark smiled. He ceased to be a serious master. He became the creator. He leaned on the lever, putting all the strength of his adult body and all the faith of his inner child into this movement. The mechanism shuddered. The old gears began to sing. At first it was hard, with a creak, and then it became lighter and cleaner. The clock began to strike. But it was not a knock. Itewa deep, melodious sound that reverberated over the city like a song. Mark went out onto the balcony of the tower. Downstairs, people applauded. And high in the sky, above the highest spill, a bright red kite soared. Mark looked down at his hands. They were no longer trembling. In his pocket was a marble of glass. He knew that now, no matter what happened in the adult world, he always had a safe haven and a loyal friend who would never betray him. Because that friend is himself. Completion and practice. The story of Mark and Marek is a path from isolation to co-creation. You'll next step try thinking together with Nai. Not just for him, but together. If you are cooking dinner, add something to be tasty or bright to it. If you work, put on the table an object that pleases the child in you. If you are walking down the street, allow yourself 3 minutes to walk not on business, but where you want to turn just like that.